it was nice to do something that was, I don't know, like, it was an escape from my own reality of my own day job, which I think is what I enjoyed the most. And then obviously Queer, we shot at Cinecittà in Rome, which was a period film, which was another kind of like, can I do this? And Luca has this incredible ability to put people into situations where they're in the deep end, and kind of, he trusts a lot, I think, which I think is very rare to find in people, to be able to trust and let go and bring people that you feel like are going to kind of create an interesting soup, ultimately.
Licensed objects.
I'm dying to see Queer. I mean, I read the book when I was a teenager, and I loved William Burroughs, but I was reading somewhere that you got ideas for the costumes for some painters, Paul Cadmus and Jared French, who I'd never heard of, and I looked them up, and you got everything. I mean, it was so powerful, the atmosphere in those paintings. And I mean, I just watched the trailer of Queer, and you had it all there. And how did you find it? And also, you captured the atmosphere of their queerness so well. And how did you find out? Did you already know those painters?
Yeah, I've always been obsessed by that group of American painters and photographers, you know, because it's such an amazing moment, like where you have like Paul Cadmus, you've got George Platt Lyons, Jared French, you know, you have all these kind of amazing queer artists in a period where being queer must have been incredibly divisive in America, creating just incredible work. Like I think George Platt Lyons is one of the most underestimated photographers in history, because I think he was one of the greatest photographers in terms of lighting. He understood lighting, I think, better than any contemporary photographer today. And I think he really kind of mapped out like a roadmap in terms of like shooting the male form, you know, shooting ballet, shooting performance. And, you know, I don't think you would have had someone like Mapplethorpe or even Peter Hujar without someone like George Platt Lyons.
Yeah.
And me and Luca on the film, we discussed it a lot. And there's these amazing images that he had done where he had done like these surrealistic images where he kind of like cuts negatives up and then kind of montages them together. Like Man Ray was experimenting with it. But I just felt like, you know, it was, you know, with Burroughs, it's sort of like, you know, the film was sort of set in end of the 40s, beginning of the 50s. And I just felt there was something so kind of, you know, with like someone like Cadmus, so painterly, but realism. And there is a kind of desire, like I think the male gaze on the man or the boy, there is something about this that I think in that period, there was such naivety in terms of image making, in terms of queer culture, that I find really fascinating. So it became a kind of like a bedrock for like Allerton, which is played by Drew Starkey. That's how I kind of got to the kind of characterization of him, was like, it was looking at that period, as well as looking at another amazing British painter called Glyn Philpott.
Oh yeah, I've heard that name.
Yeah, and he has got these, he did these beautiful paintings.
Jonathan Anderson, when you first met Luca Guadagnino years ago, I'm assuming now, did you ever imagine you guys would have two movies, Challengers and Queer, out in the same year?
It would never have crossed my mind at all. It has been such a surreal year, you know. When I met Luca and years ago, I never imagined that we would have done this. And I don't know, it's a bit of a dream come true for me, because, you know, when you were able to work with like one of your best friends and make his dreams come true and make it all kind of come to life, it is kind of slightly surreal. I'm still trying to piece together this year.
Well, when you met all those years ago, was this ever like brought up, like discussed, like, hey, one day, like, you designed clothes for my films?
I think he was like, he had suggested that, that we would work together one day. And I think, when someone says it, you're just like, sure, it was a bit kind of, and then we just became very good friends over the years. And then I think it was just before the pandemic, we were about to do a project, and then it didn't happen. And then suddenly Challengers came up. And then I was like, the pandemic had happened. I was like, well, why not? Like, what have I got to lose? I have no idea if I'm going to do this, but we'll make it happen.
I love that Challengers was your first film together, because I love tennis and I love all your work in it, and I felt like you really captured like tennis gear and tennis kits. And I know you have a history of Uniqlo and Roger Federer as well, but how familiar were you with tennis going into the movie?
I grew up in a family which was all about rugby. So for me, tennis was never on my radar. Like, I know some people are obsessed by tennis, and me and Luca were kind of joking that like we didn't really know anything about tennis. But it was amazing that when you start to research something that you don't know enough about, how obsessed you become. It's like, it's like Justin Christgis, how he came to the script is so fascinating. Do you know what I mean? It's this idea that, when you do become obsessed by something that you had no knowledge of, and then you become, a fan, I don't know. I think for me, it was like delving into something that it is foreign to you is actually really, I think, sometimes quite good, because I think you come in it with naive eyes. You're kind of like, you're seeing things in a different way. And I don't know, I found it really fun, actually. It was sort of like, so not on my radar, that I became completely hooked with like the perfection of finding the technicality of what that should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Luca, yeah, for sure. He's said in the past, like, this is not a tennis movie. It's a movie about people. So,
Yeah,
but did you also look at the tennis kits the same way?
I did, actually, because I've worked with Uniqlo and designing stuff for tennis, and I had completely like detached from this whole thing. And no, I think what I like about working with Luca is it is all about the psychological act, So in a weird way, you are looking at what is the kind of notion that you're giving about the world that you are entering in when you walk into the cinema. And for me, I became really obsessed by this idea of, I work in fashion. So, and I work in these big brands. And I was thinking of like, when you get off an airplane in America, it is amazing how we are so immune to the idea of the brand. Or when we watch anything to do with sports on television, it is brand. There's so many brands that they become nearly obsolete because they are part of the patchwork of everything. And that's why when me and Luca were working, we were like thinking like, it's good that we don't take any endorsement from anyone. We have control over what you see in this world. Do you know what I mean? And the psychology of what brand means. It's this idea of like why Uniqlo is being used, and why like juicy couture in one period in the early 2000s was a thing. It was like the idea of Abercrombie and Fitch. It was the birth of teenage angst in the early 2000s. So for me, it was like an interesting period in clothing, like queer. It's like two interesting moments I find in fashion that are quite subtle, because like in Challengers, you're looking at nearly the birth of capitalism, really, of a new type of capitalism in fashion, with younger people being hooked by image that is ultimately means status. And you see in Tashi's character how status changes over the years.
It's about power with her, and
Like
like
power.
the I told you shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is what I think what I love about my job, and it's such a dream, like this year I've been kind of like, wow, like is that clothing has so many meanings, and it's not until you do a film that you realize how much meaning clothing has, because you've got to get an audience to be able to like see the character straight away in this like 2-hour, 3-hour film. It's like you need to be able to like know where you are, so that, and work with the actor so that you're giving them the kind of like confidence as well of like a knowledge that they have that they want to bring to that character.
Yeah, for sure. And you could really clock all three of them immediately. Like you said, like Tashi was all about power, and then she lost all of her potential endorsement deals with her injury, right? Like that's like an undercurrent in the movie. And now she's like living vicariously through art. He's still active. He's all dressed in Uniqlo.
Welcome to Dior.
It's a Dior.
What do you think of the flipping of the pyramid?
Oh, I love it. I can't wait to see what else happens. I think it will be screening something on it.
C'est beau, c'est riche,
C'est monumental.
monumental. Et j'adore les petits coussins.
Ah ouais, c'est le
Façon
meilleur
livre.
truc.
Très, très agréable. Et très agréable pour les...
Lena Ortega.
Maybe one day we try to fill the whole thing and to last for a long time.
Sort of society pictures where they're kind of like, they look like pastel, but they're kind of oil, but they're kind of like stippled, and they're usually like kind of pale. There was this amazing one I found that was like of like a guy in a kind of yellow shirt and these sort of like pale grey trousers. And when going to find everything for the film, it was like, this is who I was recreating this painting into this person. But this is the most rewarding part of being creative, is actually being curious in other people's creativity. This is what I love.
I agree, yeah.
So exciting to find things. Every day I find something in creativity that I have never seen. This is the most amazing thing about the time we live in. There is so much resource to be able to find new things. Every day I come across a new artist I'd never heard of, music that I've never heard before, writers I've never even heard of. And I love that. I love when someone goes, oh, you know this person. I love being able to say, no, I don't. Because it means that you found something in a day that you never knew existed, you know? And I think...
You seem to have a real talent for that. In your work, what everybody loves about what you do is that you're always showing that, you know, your curiosity about other mediums and the craft thing that you've brought into high fashion. And I mean, you do so much. You've got your own brand, J.W. Anderson, Loewe, Uniqlo, which I love, and this, you know, the film work. And I mean, it's a huge amount. And how do you cope with the pressure, and how do you handle extreme feeling? Because it's so intense I mean, you're right at the top, and the intensity is very mood altering. And I wondered how you deal with, you know, with the feeling. It's like a juggernaut.
Yeah, I think there's sometimes, I don't have a reality of how much work I am doing. There is moments on weekends where I do stop, where I'm kind of like, I can't be around anyone. I don't know, I feel that, first of all, I have two incredible teams of people. You know, when I work on a film, I build and get to work with incredible people. So you have to trust. I think for me, I'm incredibly curious about everything. I feel like I want to discover everything and I want to kind of learn from it, but I don't micromanage. I feel like I let people do their thing because I want them to kind of be able to feel part of it. So for me, it's a kind of, I feel like if you have the right people around you, it prevents you from blowing up. And I think you have to be continuously curious, or then what would be the point?
Yeah.
in the kind of creative act of it. It is high pressured. I think as I get older, I get more used to it, which is probably not healthy either. But at the
you
same
have capacity. I mean, it's interesting. You seem to have quite a lot of agility. I mean, it's a lot, but you know, the more you do, the more you can do. So
I think it's like a muscle. It's like exercise. Yeah. As you kind of keep practicing it, you then work out different bandwidths of how to achieve more, or finding people that do the things that you cannot do.
A white plastron is in crepe, satin and cashmere. Rejoice shawl in a grey Dior version. At Dior, it's not grey, it's gris Dior, a very specific 18th century grey.
The bar hat, I like that these nearly look like some sort of like fighter jet.
They look like Venetian hats or something.
Yeah, it was like, I wanted something which was nearly slightly religious somehow, nearly like nuns.
Hats are made by Stephen Jones, Dior's very own milliner, who just got a big retrospective at the Palais Galliera Fashion Museum in Paris.
How many of them?
We have 23 in the show. Extraordinary shape too. Jonathan wanted to do something inspired by the original bar hat, which was worn with a bar jacket. So it was this domed silhouette. And by a really new system of making hats made by folding, not only molding, we made this shape.
It looks like the chicest origami?
It is the chicest origami, yes.
And what is the fabric?
It's satin double face, the most haute couture of all the fabrics. I mean, it's amazing how it looks on the inside and the outside.
Lolibaya wears la veste mini bar. The tweed fabric is flecked with micro sequins. The basque has a crin padding. The original jacket is shrunken and has an open back that extends to the top. The bar jacket is an icon of Dior, un rite de passage for every Dior designer.
The great thing about Dior is that it had some of the greatest designers in history. So you're kind of like going into the spice cupboard and pulling out different things. And then how do they relate to you? How do they relate to today? And then what can you add on top?
This one worn by Loewe is clearly similar to the menswear maxi bar that we saw in June 2025. Another tire bar with the basque becoming a sculpted motif, almost like petals or a bow.
I think what is so amazing about Dior is this idea of fantasy. Like, I think what fantasy can be today.
The new look plissé, a typical Monsieur Dior plissé with a theatrical black-white galon of stiffened lace. This is referencing all Dior collections by Yves Saint Laurent in the very end of the 1950s for a very glamorous conclave.
The first thing came to my mind was Black Narcissus and the nunnery, the elegance of the film. It's not that he looks at references, he just understands what's great. And if it comes to him, I know he knows how to take it and give it a modern flex.
There was this amazing neckline that I've only recently discovered that it was done by Saint Laurent for Dior, which was this kind of lace veil that went through the front. And I just wanted to take this neckline because I thought it was genius.
Comment vous voyez la culture de Jonathan Anderson s'articuler dans sa mode?
C'est quelqu'un qui n'a pas besoin de l'articuler parce que c'est quelqu'un chez qui c'est très naturel. C'est quelqu'un qui ne plaque pas des mood boards sur ce qu'il fait. C'est quelqu'un qui le vit vraiment, qui s'en inspire directement. Donc voilà, c'est pour ça que c'est aussi efficace et aussi brillant. Et le vrai chic et le vrai luxe, c'est pas de faire sentir l'effort, c'est de faire les choses naturellement.
Laetitia Hall. The cape and the severe neckties are shared with the Dior menswear of Spring-Summer 2026. First time Dior has only one designer for men and women. First time the wardrobe is so similar. In the past, there was a major aesthetic gap between the two divisions. Well, this is over.
I want there to be this idea that both talk to each other. There's no wall between the two.
The reference of the necktie is 1720 France, l'encyclopédie, les Lumières, philosophers rediscovering nature, ultimate excellence of all savoir-faire, la porcelaine, le savoir-vivre, l'intime. Hydrangea? Grace Nip as l'Hortensia Gris Dior.
What did you think of the collection?
Stunning, absolutely gorgeous. I mean, mind-blowing. What an honor to be asked to come and to watch this. It's insane and extremely overwhelming in a really beautiful way.
Des hortensias qui évoquent aussi la Normandie de Christian Dior, ouest from Granville. On a shirt, this is a Victorian neck piece found by Jonathan Anderson. He had it redone in a jabot. Remember this jabot? It will come back with a surprise.
I like this idea of a jacket that is being grabbed and then left, as if like you were to pull it at the front, so it stays in one shape. The kind of couture gesture, you know, like where you have that kind of like Dior where it's like leaning forward.
Ce sont deux matières qu'on contre-colle, on superpose et entre les deux, il y a un film collant. Donc là, vous avez un néoprène qui est contre-collé avec un lainage et ça donne après un côté un peu mousseux, un peu gonflé. Vous voyez, quand vous faites des plis, après, ça s'aplatit pas, ça reste rond. Donc, vous voyez pas l'envers du tissu, vous avez votre doublure qui est directement collée sur la matière première.
L'effet est très étonnant.
Ouais.
C'est la texture presque de quelque chose qui pourrait être un anorak
oui,
technique.
Tout à fait, ça fait très technique. Ça, il y en a eu pas mal, cette collection-là. Ce qui était pour nous aussi nouveau. Ouais, une nouvelle expérience, c'est bien. Oui, c'est bien.
Menswear had cargo shorts inspired by a spectacular dress called Delft by Christian. Now the Delft dress that became a cargo becomes a mini dress. Et voilà, the studio called it the Mini Delft.
I'm in a very kind of fascinating moment because I feel like I've kind of built up a kind of stamina to be able to have like people around. I have teams that worked for me. Some people have worked for me for 11 years. Some people work for me for 15 years. Wow. I have a very kind of loyal group of people that have always worked with me. Because I want people to feel invested in in the project itself. And I feel like when people are not feeling that they're contributing and getting the recognition from it, then why would they want to be part of it, you know? So I think I want people to be proud of the project.
Yeah.
And I think this actually helps because I think, you know, it can be incredibly intense. I can be tough. I'm sure a lot of people who are my dear friends will probably say that. But
how does that come out when you say you're tough?
I think I'm tough because when I hire people, I always hire people that I admire and I can see potential in. And I want to push people to the point where they feel free enough to express themselves without feeling any judgment, you know? So I don't like yes people at all. I like people to challenge me. And I want people to contribute without feeling embarrassed of what they want to creatively show. So being surrounded by yes people always can really, really irritate me because you're not challenging the situation or challenging the fashion show or challenging the image making. Like I work with a stylist called Benjamin Bruno, who's like one of my best friends who I've worked with for like over 15 years now. And we're both very good at kind of agitating each other to kind of make sure that we are trying to find subtlety in newness.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the most important things in a creative process is that you have to find people that are going to keep you on the ground and to continually keep challenging yourself.
Yeah, you can't trust the sycophant.
Yeah. And I think that's what I love about what I do. I love the people that I work with. It's like a family of people. And everyone's going after this thing, which is to try to find newness in something that already exists. You know, you're trying to reinvent a trouser, you're trying to reinvent the dress. These sort of like archetypes, you're trying to reinvent sometimes 8 times a year. And I kind of love that when I work with people. For me, the team for me is the most exciting thing because like there's nothing better when you find someone that challenges you in what can be new. but yeah, no, the job can, you know, sometimes I actually think the only part when you are working a lot is sometimes you can get quite isolated, you know. It's sort of like you're trying, you know, even like for me, sometimes even just trying to organize dinner with a friend becomes like such a mission, because you're trying to work out, are you in Paris, are you in London, are you traveling, are you not traveling, and you're trying to find these like windows to be normal in terms of like just even having dinner with someone.